Good morning. Oh, that was nice. Thank you all for coming today. My name is Suzanne Smith, and I'm the Provost Vice President for Academic Affairs here at Georgia Southwestern State University. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our campus and to welcome you to the 31st Annual National Summit of the Rosalyn Carter Institute. We are proud to have this partnership between RCI and GSW. We are proud of the work that they do here at the RCI to have this, to do the support that they do for both family and professional caregivers, because the task of caregiving, as you know, is a very important one for our society. I'd also like to thank former First Lady Rosalyn Carter for joining us today. It's always a pleasure having you with us. You have a very special program planned for today. I know that you have a lot to look forward to, and so I don't want to keep you from that. So I hope that you enjoy your program and enjoy your time on our campus today. For now, I'm pleased to introduce to you Dr. Jennifer Olson, the new Executive Director for the RCI. She's a public health advisor with 18 years of experience developing and operationalizing cross-sector partnerships to solve health challenges. We're excited to have her on our team and then know that she's going to do great things here with her staff at the RCI. So, Dr. Olson.
Thank you, Suzanne, for that warm welcome, and thank you all for coming to join us at today's 31st Summit. I'm fortunate to have arrived here on October 1st, just in time to be part of this week's events and to celebrate all the achievements we'll hear about over the course of the day. I've had the chance over the past few weeks to learn about the many programs that RCI supports and enables, both here in Georgia and throughout the country. I'm excited today to learn about some new challenges and figure out how we can be more engaged at the RCI. I want to do a few housekeeping announcements because those are always necessary. The first one, though, is that you should have all received a white index card. During today's presentations, if you have questions, we'll ask that you write those questions down on the card, and we'll collect them at the end of the presentation so that we can engage our speakers in some crowd-based conversation. Also, I'm sure you've noticed there's some posters in the lobby by our Pope Fellows, who are students here at GSW. Please take time to check those out and see what they have been working on. We also have a collaborative board in the corner out by the food with pink and orange stickies. I'm of the firm belief that if we have so many minds in one room, I'd love to hear from all of those minds about what challenges we could consider focusing on for caregivers, or some amazing ideas or wishes that you have in the caregiving space. So please contribute to that. And lastly, if you need to use the restroom or make a phone call, please exit to the doors in the back. Bathrooms and water fountains are out there as well. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the person who is the reason that all of us are here today, the woman who made this possible. She needs no formal introduction. Former First Lady Rosalyn Carter.
Thank you, Jennifer. And she said she was new, and we're really glad to have her. She's off to a good start, and she bought a house in Plains. So excited about that. It's right across the street from our office, which our office in Plains was Jim and Mother's house, and it's right on the main street when you go through town. She had a big yellow house, big, beautiful yellow house. I think, Jennifer, you had a tree fall down in your yard, didn't you? We had, the storm just hit Plains and did havoc to our house. It's a big, huge tree this big around fell on it, and we lost 14 trees. We kind of live in the woods, 14 of those huge trees. And everything is devastation still. But we survived it. We all survived it. I don't think anybody in town got hurt, and so we had a lot to be thankful for. Well, I'm glad to be here this morning, and there's no place I'd rather be than with people who care for others. and some people who have worked for all of their lives, helping those who are caring for others. And we started the Rosalyn Carter Institute when I came home from the White House. The university had a small endowment for a mental health program, and by the time I thought I could work with them, I already had a good mental health program at the Carter Center. And so the endowment was for mental health, so we began working with those caring for people with mental illnesses, because I had seen so many people who would have a family member develop mental illness, and they had no idea where to go or what to do. And I had seen so many people suffering, so I thought it had to be mental health. And that was how we got started in working with those caring for people with mental illnesses. It spread quickly to include all caregivers. And so I'm really pleased to have you this morning. And I want you to know that I love all caregivers. I have seen so many, and I know what it is. And let's see, I've got some notes here I'm supposed to say. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing from you and the stories of the speakers today and celebrating at the gala tonight. And this time I want to introduce our keynote speaker, Mike Daly. Before becoming a caregiver, Mike had an incredibly successful career in both the New York Police Department as well as the Queen's Library. But 10 years ago, life dramatically changed for him when his beloved wife, Carol, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And for the past 10 years, CBS 60 Minutes has followed Mike and Carol's journey navigating the extremely difficult world that is Alzheimer's and caregiving. Before welcoming Mike up to the podium, let's take a glance at a glimpse of Mike and Carol's journey over the past 10 years.
You'll join me in warmly welcoming Mike Daly to share more of his journey.
Thank you, and thank you, Mrs. Carter, for allowing me this opportunity. I can't help it. It's really difficult for me to even talk about it, but I feel I need to get the word out and tell you the mistakes I made. I felt being a cop. I was a plainclothes cop. I worked anti-crime. And believe it or not, the police department, our caregivers, they served the community. I had to make tough decisions instantly. I knew I could do it. I told myself I could do this job. I could take care of her. Not a problem. I was wrong. It takes a lot to take care of it. In the beginning, it was okay. I should have done things a little different in the beginning. But one of the things I was told to do was get a divorce. I'm sorry. I could do it. But it is important, financially important, in applying for Medicare. It's interesting how Medicare is run by the states, and it's different in different states. New York State, Connecticut, and Florida have spousal refusal. I signed a piece of paper saying I'm going to refuse to pay our medical bills. And I was approved. The nursing home that she's in now is $15,000 a month. They took all her money. I had to, whatever income she has, her Social Security, her pension, I write a check every month. It comes to about $3,000 a month. I would have had to pay $1,200 a month on top of that. It would come out about and Medicaid is paying the rest. Some of the things, it's interesting because the police department was my first love, believe it or not. I love my job. And what they said about you have a job that you love, you'll never work a day in your life, it's true. I couldn't wait to go to work. My wife raised my kids. She took a job to help financing. She was a great woman. I could tell you a story, it's a little humorous, but I did a fire rescue. It was in the late 70s, and it was during a blackout. And I had to go in. There was a woman trapped in the building, and it was a semi-attached house. She was drinking, smoking on the couch. The couch went on fire. I broke into the door, got in, ran in, not thinking. I panicked, believe it or not. I was lost. I was only about 4 feet in the house. I panicked. I came back out. I got smoke inhalation, so I had to be admitted to the hospital. The funny part about it is that my boss went to my wife and says, Carol, don't get too upset, but Mike's in the hospital. Oh, okay. When I go on my lunch hour, I'll try to go see him. So, I mean, she was a great woman, and but there was things too. There's other things out there, financial, that you should also look at. Is irrevocable trust on my house. I had the house taken out of my name. Nobody can touch the house, not even me, you know. So, that those assets are going to remain. And then I started thinking too. I says, you know, I'm 75 now. She's 75. I started thinking, these are things you start thinking about. I says, what if we die? So you can get irrevocable trust for cemetery, burial, and I had a friend that was an undertaker. He owned a funeral home, so he guided me through it. But I don't worry now. That's another thing put aside. Everything's taken. We're going to get cremated. Got a niche, Moravian Cemetery. I have a beautiful view of the Verrazano Bridge. So, you know, it's from where I'm going to be, my ashes will be placed. But, and what's interesting too, it got the other family members going. My mother-in-law, she said, when I die, I want to be cremated. But I want my husband dug up, who's been buried for 40 years. And my friend, the funeral taker, says, did your mother-in-law ever heard of the phrase, may he rest in peace? Yeah. But we dug him up, we had him cremated. And then, so we got the whole thing for the family now. Unfortunately, I'm going to be between my wife and my mother-in-law. You know how that's going to be. So, but these are things that you got to start thinking of when you know. I thought I knew everything. I didn't know nothing. You know, I thought I really knew how to do things, financing and everything. So, but we're okay. Interesting too. You think that nobody cares. That's my problem. Nobody cares. Well, I'm going to tell you some true stories. I take her out to the restaurant, sit her down, I feed her. You know, because she could communicate a little bit at the time, and I could feed her. And comes to the we're finished. I asked the waitress, "Can I have the check?" And he says, the couple that's sitting next to you picked up the check. never thought of, people out there seeing it, want to help. A couple of times, I had to basically pick her up, put her in the car, and this particular time, I picked her up, tried to get in the car. She fell down outside in the street. There was a couple in the car behind us, jumped out of the car, came to my aid. And there was another time we had to go. It was Party City, and I had to get some stuff. We were going to have some party at the retirement at the senior center, and she fell. And there's a family there. They couldn't even speak English. This was to me, this was remarkable. But it showed me, they came over to help me and put my wife in the car. So there are people just like you guys out there. And I commend you, all of you, for what you're doing. And that video yesterday was remarkable that we watched about military caregivers. But another time, we're sitting there and I'm getting her ready, and it turned out there was a family there, and the husband came. He was a fireman. He came after me to help me get my wife in the car. It just shows you. And this is, when people talk about New York City, people care. I don't care where you're from. They care. And they're willing to help. And then I'm sorry, honey. But it came time when I needed more help. So I was paying $700 a week for round-the-care help. But then I did some more research. I don't know why I didn't. You got a plan in the beginning. You don't, for some reason, you don't think about these things. And I would, in the beginning, I was able to take her to work with me, which was because you see in some of the videos, that was the Queensborough Public Library. We were sitting in the boardroom. But I took her in as a volunteer, and she was doing volunteer work, simple things that she could. I had to run security. I became a vice president for the Queens Library. I had logistics and security and fire safety. And I had my own office, so Carol could sit in the office. But she would go down there and do things, sort of keep her mind going. But it came to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. I had an assistant that she was female, so she was able to take my wife to the bathroom and help her out. But it became too difficult. It was interfering with my role at the library. So I had the round-the-clock home care. I signed them up for a senior center, which was great. They played bingo. Matter of fact, we have videos of her dancing. She could hardly talk and everything, but when that music came on, they had the DJ come in and they would play 50 songs. Why not? Everybody's in their 70s, 90s years old. So you have to see her get up and dance. What music can do for the mind is just unbelievable. And that now she's in a nursing home now. She has headset, iPod, with all 50 music. And they put it on her and she listens to the music. I'm not too sure if she still knows who I am. But I want to get into nursing homes. Just because you put your loved one in a nursing home doesn't mean you're finished caring for her, for your loved one. Doesn't mean that. I go up every night after work. What I had to do, I had to get a job. It's not a job. I didn't need the money, but I got a job with a quality cooling and heating company, and they're vendors for Home Depot, and I elicit free estimates for them. What that does for me, first of all, it got me out of the house. I work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. It gets me out of the house, gives me something to do, keeping my sanity. I had to do something. You can't sit home and vegetate. And but when the 60-minute piece came on, you can't imagine people come over to me. And just recently, they repeated it a second time, and a gentleman came over to me and he says, "I wish I was half the man you were." But I didn't see that in me, I said, and it did bother me putting in a nursing home. But it was just the response from the community. Some of it was humorous. A woman came up to me, "I know you." He said, "I just can't remember where I know you." It was the 60-minute show. So, but the senior center was a good place. Did a lot for my wife. It took a lot of the burden off me. I try to do as best I can. But now that she's in a nursing home, you've got to still be part of the system. An example was she was grinding her teeth. Doctors, the nursing home doctors weren't consulting with me or didn't think they should have to, So picking a doctor in the beginning to care for your loved one, it's extremely important that you pick the right doctor. I have Dr. Debbie. She's a fantastic doctor, fantastic. She's, as far as I'm concerned, she's still my doctor. I can call her any time of the day, any time of the because Carol started getting seizures, and I would call her like 2 o'clock in the morning. She would call me back. And I was watching Good Morning America, where they said that female doctors are more compassionate. Guess what? They're right. They are. And she stuck and still sticks by me. I don't pay her nothing. The other important thing about the particular doctor, she's also not only a neurologist that specializes in Alzheimer's, she's a psychiatrist. You know what that meant for me? All right, we would talk. The three of us would sit in the room and talk. And she helped, kept my mind focused, kept my sanity. She also, whatever new trial came out, she made sure she got my wife into it. And that's gonna, I know I'm jumping around here, but that bothers me the most is they don't have, like you see, leukemia, new thing for this, cancer, new thing for this. What do you hear about Alzheimer's? What are they doing? I don't think they're doing anything. The Supreme Court, Sandra O'Day-Connor, she said the same thing I'm saying now, because I heard it on 1010 Wins. They're not doing enough to find a cure for Alzheimer's. More has to be done for that. I'm sorry I'm jumping around like this, but I'm losing my, getting back to the doctors. Carol, doctor wouldn't take her off. She had Parkinson's. I thought she had it too, but she has the symptoms of Parkinson's disease. She does not have Parkinson's. So Dr. Debbie spoke on my behalf to the chief medical person at the nursing home Take her off that medication. That's what's causing her grinding her teeth. And you need to get her to see a dentist. So this is a very important in the beginning that you find the right doctor. All right. My time is up. Oh, I have more? All right. All right. No, we agreed that we would have questions because I want to address what's on your mind and what you need to know from me rather than me try to put it in. So if it's okay, we can go to the questions. Spend more time on that if you don't mind. I know I was supposed to watch you, but I couldn't, you know.
While we're waiting for the audience questions, we saw in the film a little bit about your physical and mental health.
Yeah.
You as the patient. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Oh, it got to the point where I was actually considering, is it worth living? But then you know, that's what helped me with Dr. Debbie, would you know, the fact that I had her, I think I'm the reason why I'm still here today, standing in front of you. The stress is enormous. The financial stress is enormous. How are you going to pay the bills? How am I going to, you know? So it's really important too. I ought to put this in. In the beginning, when I had power of attorney for her, but I was lucky to get it later on. But you need power of attorney over the person you're caring for. So you have the authority to make decisions for her. And what is the other thing, the medical thing you need to sign where you make the decisions? Proxy, the medical proxy. You need to have that. This all has to be done. When you saw Carol start in the beginning, when she could talk and she could make decisions, that's when these things have to be done. Once she loses it all, it's difficult.
Get these questions from the crowd here.
Let me see what else I left out. If I left anything else out.
Okay. Do you have any? If you have things you want to tell us, I will.
Well, I allow my feelings of guilt to interfere with making the best decisions. You need to keep a clear, open mind. Love is one thing, but it could be selfish on my part.
Lots of complex
things
going on. So you spoke about your extended family kind of doing some planning for their own future because they watched you go through this.
Yes.
How have you engaged with family about telling them about caregiving and helping them make some choices for those kinds of things?
Well, they haven't. It's interesting though. You know, I'm going to talk about my children. I have 3 daughters. I feel like they abandoned me. All right, and I think it's because of the pain of watching their mother deteriorated. It upset me. You know, it always upset me. I wanted more input. And interesting, worked with Dr. LePook, and we started communicating. He helped me communicate with my daughters to get them back. I think it's also part of the problem, having daughters who has a father who was a cop, living in the precinct that he worked, that knew everything that was going on. All right, imagine your father, excuse me. So, and then an interesting story about my wife again, and when my mother was still alive. She went through a major intersection, spun around 3 times. She went through the red light. Didn't get in an accident. And my mother was going, oh, screw you. Mom, don't you say anything to Mike. Don't you say anything to Mike about it. But guess what the car behind him was? It was another detective car that worked in the precinct. And he started saying, hey, Mike, you had to see your wife. She went 3 times in the intersection and got right through it. And then I go home, I said, Carol, do you have something you want to tell me? No, I mean about when you went through the light and not the kill. Oh, so, but me and my wife had a good relationship. And, and she tolerated a lot, because I was never home, I was like, when you make an arrest and on a weekend, which I liked because I made a lot of overtime, but I'll be gone the whole weekend in weekend court. So, but she accepted it.
Yeah, so one of the storylines, aspects of the story was about the choice to decide to go put her into a nursing home.
Yeah.
And how kind of that journey went. If you, now looking back, would you have made a different choice?
I would have been more prepared, and I would have started sooner. I would have made, but she didn't want to go. She was adamant about it. Don't put me in a nursing home. And I didn't want her in a nursing home. I really didn't. I wanted her to be with me. I was selfish. I felt selfish. Now I feel selfish about what I did and the decision I made. So, but the right decision was, because you know how many people it takes to put her in bed in a nursing home? It takes at least 2, sometimes 3 people to get her in bed. But they had something I didn't have. They have that Hoya.
Oh, yeah.
All right? Which I knew about it. I don't know where I would have put it, but it would have greatly helped in caring. That's the thing, keeping her at home. And I eventually got Medicaid for home care, because the cost was getting out of hand, and Medicaid would pick up the tab, and they would only deal with her money. They wouldn't come after my, because I needed the money to pay for the house, the bills, everything. I'm not a millionaire, believe me, I'm not. So.
And it sounds like you also had a lot of learning, whether it be adaptive materials you needed to get in your house, or different medication schedules, a lot of education.
And that's the other thing with like I hired, in the beginning I hired a home care person, one person, 24/7. She would go home every 3rd weekend. But here's something else I didn't know. She was able to give her prescriptions, administer the drugs. When you go to professional, you needed a registered nurse to administer.
Right.
So that's another course. You learn all these things as you go along. And, but they would, I won't say what they did, but they helped me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned watching the Weight of Honor film last night.
Yes.
And you saw the journey of military caregivers.
Yes.
And you saw, I'm sure, some similarities in the challenges.
Yes.
Can you speak about those?
Yeah, it just, it was watching a mother take care of the kid, and then the wife whose husband left her, those were sad stories, but you don't, they were in a worse situation than I was. All right. That's how I felt when I watched the movie. You'll sit back and say, well, maybe I didn't have it as bad as I think I had it, But tough. Caregiving, no matter who it is, what it's for, is very different. And it was interesting, the kids, how it impacted on the kids. So, touching.
And can you tell us how Carol is doing now in the facility?
Oh, I made the right decision.
Yeah.
I made the right decision. You saw in the end in the video how she was sitting there like this. She don't sit like that anymore. She sits up in the wheelchair. She can't do anything, and she can't talk, can't walk, can't feed herself, can't go to the bathroom. The staff are fabulous. What they do for her, said, Mike, you did the right thing. And I go, right now I'm down here, so I can't be feeding her up there, but I go every night, 7 days a week, check on her and feed her. And that helps me feel better about what I did. And I'm watching out for her. And I make sure, sometimes you have to play hardball with the administration. All right, to get what you want. And it's not what I want what's best for my wife. She still is my wife. Now they have, I wanted her to get it every year. She gets a mammogram because she had an incident. So I said, I want her to go get a mammogram. They have a mammogram, that's what they told me, where you could stay in a wheelchair, and I don't know how they do it. But unfortunately, the mammogram showed a shadow. And they had to take her down to get a CAT scan. And they sat with me, and now here's where I'm at. Do I do anything about it? If she has breast cancer, do I do anything about it? They said no, do nothing. And I said, but how could I sit back and do nothing? Well, he says if she has to get surgery, she's 75 years old, same age as me. She says, and with her brain, the way it is, going to anesthesia, I could kill her. Now think about that. What decision do I make? Like, I'm going to go back to Dr. Debbie because I trust her. I have a doctor I can trust, and I will do whatever she says. She's been faithful to me and upfront with me. So I'll discuss it with her. But when you were talking about other stuff too, she used to walk out of the house. One day I went out. At the time I was able to go do some shopping and come back, and she wasn't that bad. I come out. It's just like in the wintertime. It had snowed a couple of days before. She just had a T-shirt on, barefooted, and she's walking around outside. Of course, I don't tolerate too much, so what are you doing? Get in that house. So I called Dr. Debbie. Guess what the solution was? You take an 8x10, tape it over the doorknob. She can't get out. And she couldn't get out. She couldn't find the doorknob. So, that's why it's good to be doctor. Doctors, I'm going to tell you, I keep repeating it again, but the right doctor is the key to how you're going to survive.
So a lot of the people in this audience talk about having a caregiving team.
Yes.
The doctor seems critical.
Oh, and Dr. LePook. I would call him up. Well, I would text him. Amy, the producer.
Yeah?
They worked with it for 10 years. They've been with me. But we weren't on a show every week, but I could call Dr. LePook. Even tell him, listen, Doc, I know, like I just had my thyroid removed. So you have to have someone to talk to. You can't do it alone. And that's why you guys, I see you as courageous caregivers for what you guys do. And there's the woman responsible for it right there. So you're great. You're great.
With that, I'll invite you up to speak if you'd like to say something.
Oh, man.
This is wonderful.
Oh, and I can't thank you enough for inviting me.
Everybody here appreciates what you said. And you have said so many things to them that they'll remember. and be able to use it in their career. I'm grateful to you.
So at this time, we're actually going to take a 15-minute break to allow some of us to maybe grab a Kleenex or two, or wash their face, because I see a lot of emotion. And I want to say thank you again to Mike for sharing with us today. And we'll just ask you to be back in the room at 10 o'clock so we can continue to learn from some of our other speakers today. Thank you.